Well, hello there. It's episode 7. Boom. Dave England. Am I in focus? Yes, I'm in focus. I pulled the camera back a little bit because I've got a little surprise. Something I want to do a little later. But thank you for tuning in. Oh, I know why it looks different. My logo. Where's my logo? Put my logo in. Where is the logo? We're so used to seeing that. Uh, Wine with Dave. Bam, there it is. That's why it doesn't look good. See, if I had a producer, I need a producer, someone that's just in the back with the headphones on, doing their thing, so I don't have to worry about it. So, welcome to, I got to get my hand right, Wine with Dave, okay? It's Wine with Dave. Tonight is, again, Cabernet Sauvignon. I thought of taking a break and just drinking water because that's a good break to take some water. But let's get into it. Tonight, I'm really excited. I got a guest on, waiting in the wings, as it were. She's a good friend, someone I met. I'll talk about that a little later. But let me just start by saying that right below, right over here, right, you're going to see a purple popcorn button. And it's called the Watch Together button. If you click that, what it does is nothing happens other than you're telling everybody on your personal page that you're watching something live. So it brings more people on. So it's this is my little selfish promotion part. If you want to do it, it's great. If you don't want to do it, it's completely fine. But I appreciate it if you click the purple popcorn button and start a watch party, and you get a lot more people watching. So. Show's growing. Got like 158 people watching last night's episode, and tomorrow night I'm still looking for a guest. I might actually, this is cool. I'm gonna say this right now. Do you guys know Mary Halsey? She's the Missy Elliott funky white sister. She was on Ellen. Well, she's in Rhode Island. She's in West Warwick, and Diane, you don't have a purple button. It should. Right below on the left-hand side right below the video, you'll see it. Hey, Rick. Hey, Chris. So, Missy Elliott, she's Missy Elliott's funky white sister. She's in her 60s, and she does not look like she can rap or do hip-hop, but she's funny. She was on the Ellen Show, I think, twice. Well, I've been talking to her, and she wants me to call her manager, and so I did that. So she might be on the show. So that's cool. I want to ask her the inside scoop on Ellen and how did you get the call from Ellen's producer? Does she actually get on the phone and say, "Hey, I'd like you on my show"? There's a lot of questions I'm curious about, as you guys are too. The Ellen show is pretty cool. But today, National Calendar Day. All right, National Calendar Day says that today is National Cherish an Antique Day. All right, so you're looking at one of them, but I don't want you to look at me because there's something behind me that is where am I going? Right there. That's the antique right there. Okay. What they want you to do, this national calendar, is to hashtag National Cherish an Antique Day. Hashtag National Cherish an Antique Day. And put a photo of something in your house, the oldest thing that you own. Think about that. People don't think like that a lot. Like, what is the oldest thing you own? Is it your car? Is it a drawing? Is it a painting? I don't know. What is it? But I'm going to show you what the oldest thing, I believe the oldest thing in my house is. And let me start by doing this first, okay? Because I like the build up and the reveal. That's always good. No, you know what? I will. I'll show you. Here it is. Here is the oldest thing that I own, that I believe. And it's a Harmony Sovereign. You see that? Harmony Sovereign acoustic guitar. Given to me by my mom. And this has been like with her for years. She was in a little country band called The King and His Court. And the king was this guy named Ed Sheehan, who played a old Telecaster, which I'm going to show you later. A late 50s Telecaster, beautiful. And he was the king, and they had an agreement, my mom and her two sisters, that they wanted guitar lessons from Ed. And he didn't want to get paid, so they paid him through beer. So every Wednesday night, they had guitar lessons with Ed. And they'd have to bring a 6-pack of Gablinger or Narragansett. It was probably Narragansett at that time, Narragansett beer. And so he taught them how to play all the country stuff. You know, they knew everything. They learned a lot. So, and this is the guitar that my mom bought. Now, it's a really interesting story, the Harmony Sovereign, okay? Let me show you something. I'm going to switch to my desktop in a second. I want to show you something. The Harmony Sovereign might seem like just an old beat up little guitar, but check this out. Okay, we can see that. Jimmy Page.
Jason and Craig came to my house in London. I invited them to my house to get some idea of what it was that they planned, and they had like a floor plan of how they wanted to display things. And they said, "Do you approach the gallery through Greco-Roman statues, and then the first thing you see is Chuck Berry's guitar?" I said, "What, the original one, the blonde one?" They said, "Yes." I said, what would you like? Just tell me what you want to help this along, and you can have whatever it is that you want. I've learned my harmony guitar, which was a Harmony 6-string acoustic. That guitar I had way back in the early 60s, and it was with me all the way through, to the point that I used it as a writing tool. And that particular guitar is a vehicle whereby the first album of Led Zeppelin is written, the second album is written, the third album is written, and the fourth album is written. And it's the guitar that actually culminates on playing Stairway to Heaven.
Did you catch that? Jimmy Page played this Harmony Sovereign acoustic guitar. This is the Stairway to Heaven acoustic. Oh. It's been years. So this is the acoustic guitar that Jimmy Page played on all 4 Zeppelin albums. I mean, a lot of acoustic. This is the oldest thing I have. National Cherish and Antique Day. I think this is pretty awesome. Look at that. Would you look at that? It just gleams. It's got a lot of age. My mother taught me a few things. One song she taught me was "The Green, Green Grass of Home." Would you like to hear it? Would you like to hear me sing "A Green, Green Grass of Home"? Okay, I will. There's a 20-second delay. I'm sure people want to hear it. The old home looks the same as I step down from the train. There to meet me is Mama and Papa. Down the road I look, and there comes Mary, hair of gold and lips of cherry. It's good to touch the green, green grass of home. And it goes on. I didn't practice it, so I don't want to make a mistake. But my mom taught me a lot of the country stuff, and I got inspired to start music, and that changed the direction of pretty much where I was heading in life. Love that music. I want to show you some pictures that I think is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Here's the first one. This is me, all right? I know. Kind of funny. I'm sitting in the chair, and over there, you can't see my hand. I can't really point over here. But Jamie is my cousin. He's standing up to the left. He's the guitar player. And John, the clown in the back with the drumsticks over shooting off my head like an alien, is John is my cousin, my other cousin, the drummer. And the three of us started a band. And Jamie's mother was in The King and His Court. The king was Ed, who taught the music to my aunts and my mom. And the court was all those three women. So there was one electric guitar, three acoustic guitars, and that was A King and His Court. So there's that, okay? So that's cool. And then check this out. There's the guitar. There's the guitar. That's like late 60s. That's got to be 1968, 69. Look at that Jazz Master. If you're a guitar hero, that's Jamie's mom. That was their debut performance. And my mom playing the Harmony Sovereign guitar. I think that's pretty cool. And if you don't think that's cool, I told you I would show you that Telecaster. Boom. Look at that. That's my mom playing Ed Sheeran's The King, right? He was the king. Playing Ed Sheeran's late 50s Telecaster. That thing would be worth $50,000 now. Easy. 30, 50. And my mom's playing it, the debut. So that's cool. That means a lot to me, seeing these photos. But in honor of National Cherish an Antique, I cherish those photos. And I cherish this guitar. That Harmony Sovereign means a lot. And my mom actually bought the same model that Jimmy Page used to record the first 4 albums of Led Zeppelin. She had no idea. She just got it. I didn't know all these years. I found that out about, I think, 2 years ago. I was just looking up, like, what is this thing? Was it ever used in a song? Because you can do that. You can get a guitar, type it in, find out that it was recorded, used in some James Bond theme or something. Like, oh, that's cool. All of a sudden, there's like web pages everywhere. Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin. Like, what? So I think that was cool. So find something in your house, take a photo of it, put it on Facebook, and put the hashtag National Cherish an Antique Day. I'd love to see it too. I found out something that's pretty cool here. Look at this. I can add comments. Yay! Diane says hello. She also says, I don't have a purple button. Wah, wah. Maybe on her phone. Bree Hawkwater. Hill Dave. No, she's saying hi, Dave. I think that's cool. Oldest thing in Carmela's house is her husband's grandfather's violin. Wow, Carmela, that's old. And let's see, what does Chris say? I should read it first. Oldest thing in my house is my front door, 1450s castle door from Scotland. No way. Okay, that beats the Harmony Sovereign. Rick Greenwood, do I have a choice? Yeah, you got a lot of old things. Look in the mirror, pal. Just look in the mirror. Look in the mirror. Rick Green, Graham Parsons, is that his? Oh, you're talking about me. Okay. Let's see. Let's go through these things here. Steve Mason, why haven't any fertilizer companies used that song on the TV commercial? Yeah, Green Green Grass Home, because it's actually a depressing song. The guy at the last verse, I could pull it up. The last verse, you know, he can't wait to touch the green, green grass of home where there's Mary, lips of gold and hair of cherry, hair of gold, lips, hairy lips, and her hair is cherry. Anyway, he says the last verse, then I wake and look around me at the 4 gray walls that surround me, and I realize, yes, I was only dreaming. It's sung from the perspective of a guy who's dead in a coffin, and he's being buried. But he's being buried in the green, green grass of home. So it's dark. It is dark. Diane says your mom is cool. Diane, you have no idea. She is. She was the coolest. She was in a band. Whose mom is in a band? Raise your hand if your mom was ever in a band. Right? Nobody I know. Taylor says Diane Gall Lang. I don't know. Oh, you're sharing it. Thank you for sharing that. Rich Austin, colonial cooking pot from around 1750. Do you still use it, Rich? That would be cool. Anyway, do that. Take a photo of something in your house and an antique, the oldest thing that you have in your house. Post it on Facebook or Instagram, whatever you got. LinkedIn, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Twitter, YouTube, and just do the hashtag. Speaking of antiques, and I'm not talking about my guest, but I'm talking about what she does, how she helps people. She's laughing in the background. She can hear me. Speaking of guests, I'm going to bring on Deb Burton. This is going to be a great video, a great interview. Why? Because of Deb. Rich Austin says, no, it's too fragile. Yeah, definitely hold on to that. Deb Burton is the founder of RI Elder Info. And I'm going to bring her on right now, shall we? Boom, there she is.
Hello, how are you?
I am doing fine. Let me just switch my camera. Let me add you. Yep, there we go. Hi, Deb.
Hi, can you see me now?
I can see you now, yeah. What commercial was it? Sprint, right? Was that Sprint?
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the sign behind you. I want to be your dog. Is it? Oh,
I want to be the person my dog thinks I am. Yes.
There's a song, I want to be your dog.
Yeah.
I'm drawing a blank. Who did that? Iggy Pop. I want to be your dog. Iggy Pop. I didn't think it said that. Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I think everyone can hear.
Cheers.
Cheers, yeah. Let me just make sure. Yep, mic's on and everything. Cheers. Let's see if we can clink the glasses together. Ready?
Oh gosh, that might be a little hard.
Is it possible to do that?
Whoa. Okay.
The glass is much bigger. So let's just start. Thank you for coming on. So you're the founder of RI Elder Info. What have you been up to? You're dealing with elderly people all the time. What's going on? What have you been up to?
It's been really busy. The whole COVID-19 thing has been not a lot of fun for most of us. And I've been researching on what are the resources available to help people stay safe at home. So what are your community resources? What pharmacies deliver? Lots of information. I put it all up on the news blog on RA Elder Info. I've been pushing that out across social media, trying to let people know if they need help, what help is available out there. It's been a lot. This COVID thing really stinks.
Yeah, wow. That's got to be. Thinking about you, you're probably one of the busiest people I know. Because everybody, like I know someone right now that I won't, some people on watching might know the person, so I'm not going to say it, but their father's going through a lot and she can't even see him. He's having an operation. She can't even go to see him. It's hard. It's really hard.
It is. I think it's something that we're more acutely aware of right now because of COVID-19. And until they said no visitors in nursing homes, so if I had to bet like January, early February, not a lot of people were thinking about how important it is to have visitors in nursing homes until, it's national news, there's no visitors in nursing homes. And then all of a sudden people started to really kind of pay attention. When you talk about your elderly neighbor shouldn't go out shopping. They need to stay home and you really need to step up to the plate and offer them that help. If there's a silver lining in any of this nightmare, maybe it's getting that sense of community and paying attention to our seniors again, and recognizing that we are one big community and we got to pull together, whether that's helping our neighbors, sending people cards in nursing homes, visiting once, this crisis passed. But, I think after this, we'll have a greater sense of community, a greater sense of pulling things together. I hope. It's my hope, my prayer, that'll be one of the purposes of this that came across the world.
So one thing I wanted to ask about pharmacies, because people can't really go out and they can't congregate. Are pharmacies delivering? How does that work? Are they helping out?
So it is Many pharmacies have stepped up to the plate. A lot of people know that CVS right now is offering free delivery. I was actually making some calls for some folks today, and free delivery is dependent sort of on what time frame you need that stuff delivered in. The longer you have, say, if you need stuff within 3 days, you're pretty good. If you needed something same day, then they will ask you to use Instacart. A lot of the small independent pharmacies have always delivered, but that's probably not really well known. But if you ask your pharmacist, a lot of them are saying yes. I do have a list of the pharmacies that deliver on raelderinfo.com under the news section. You can find lots of information there as far as the pharmacies that deliver. We know most of the restaurants will do takeout. Some of them are actually doing delivery as well.
Right.
So, it's really trying to help people stay home for as much as possible.
So you find that's on new? There's a button on your website called new?
It's under news on the news feed. Yep. Okay. Right on the home page, you'll see if you're looking for COVID information, click here and it'll take you to the news page, and there's a bunch of articles on there. Right. Pretty much any kind of information that you might want, and it's reliable information. We do know, as the governor has said, the RI Delivers website, a lot of the delivery services are overwhelmed. Because there's that much need. So it really is going to be dependent on us coming together, helping our neighbors, and helping one another out. Yeah. And I think that'll be the good thing in it.
Are you seeing that a lot? Because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing people really being out of the way friendly.
Out of the way friendly, and the innovation that is going on right now is like blowing me away. I've said for a really long time that, we're in 2020, and by 2030, we'll have more people over the age of 65 than under. And nobody was talking about that. And I kept saying, we really need to come together as a community because we can't wait for governmental systems to support us. Now, unfortunately, we found out really fast, really hard that that's true. But the innovation that has come from that has been amazing. So, for example, there has been in Rhode Island for, I want to say, going on almost a year and a half, 2 years, something called the Rhode Island Memory Cafes. And it's a meeting group for individuals who have dementia and their care partners. And it's a social gathering. Well, obviously, you can't do that in this current situation. So Rhode Island Memory Cafes launched the very first virtual memory cafe in the country. I was like,
so explain that. What does that mean, a memory cafe?
So a memory cafe is a social gathering of individuals with dementia and other related, Alzheimer's and other related dementias, and their care partners. And the group chooses what kind of things that they want to do. So it could be, ordinarily it could be like gathering for a meal. It could be different crafts. Now that it's virtual, I believe today they had their Easter parade, where all participants, were wearing fun hats and things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
It's whatever the group wants. I just saw that the Rhode Island Medical Society is now collecting tablets, iPhones, things like that people don't use anymore. They're going to do some refurbishing on them and then install a communications platform so that people who are in long-term care or people who are in the hospital have a way to connect with their loved ones. We think a lot of times there's a misbelief that seniors don't use computers. But if you think about, if you're, say, I know people are watching and I love you, but say you're in your mid-70s, okay? You are pretty solidly a senior citizen. But if you think back, you retired 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, we were using computers pretty much for work. So people are accustomed to using computers, so it's a misnomer. So Rhode Island Medical Society is refurbishing these machines to be able to get people connected who, unfortunately are in long-term care or in the hospital and their family really wants to reach out to them. I thought that was amazing. There's also a group called the Cyber Seniors. Cyber Senior
There's two words that don't go together.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't think that, but the Cyber Seniors, they're actually offering free training classes on how to order your prescriptions online, how to do the video chats. So we're using Skype here tonight. One of the great benefits of Skype is that it can do real-time translation, closed captioning underneath, which is really good if you're hard of hearing or things like that. But a lot of people right now, particularly in the business world, we've been pushed into Zoom where you have to do the call in, the login, the PIN, and all that. So Cyber Seniors is offering training on how to utilize different platforms, how to do these different things so that people will be more comfortable with it. So that's pretty cool. We've got, oh my gosh, there's just so much. For people who are not tech savvy, Age Friendly Rhode Island just launched Hello Buddy. It's going to be a senior kind of telephone call check-in. They're looking for volunteers, but they're also looking for anybody who might want a friendly call. It's just a phone call. They're not going to come out and do anything particularly for you. But depending on what report you look at, between 12 and 30% of Rhode Islanders are alone. And when you think about how hard it is as we're doing self-isolation with our family, or we have this kind of interaction, like, imagine if you didn't have anybody to have that conversation with.
Yeah, how many elderly people are in Rhode Island?
I don't know that one off the top of my head. I can tell you in a few minutes, but it's kind of sad when you think about there are people out there who don't have, for example, an emergency contact. But one of the things that I'm working on doing and expect to launch on Wednesday the 15th at 7 p.m., I'll be using a different kind of platform. I'll be using something called one-click chat.
Yeah.
I will be hosting the RI Elder Info Community Family Chat, and it's going to be a free event for people to get connected to try to reduce social isolation and loneliness. And to answer your question, there are approximately 787,238 individuals over the age of 65 in Rhode Island. So that's a lot. So that's a lot of people. But when you think about how many people might be, in need of just connecting, we all are. It's so nice when we're starting to have the virtual networking groups. It's so nice to talk to people and see people outside of the house.
Absolutely.
It's been great. Yes.
Hey, does anybody have any questions for Deb? Because we could open that up, and I've got a way to kind of put your comments right here on the screen. Any questions, concerns you have about caregivers or elderly would be really good.
Yeah. I can't see the questions coming up on your screen. I'm watching my comments as well. I know one of the things that has come up for a lot of people, and it's something that they're really kind of nervous about, are their loved ones who are in long-term care. We're seeing a lot on the news, and it's not positive. But I've been around healthcare and long-term care for a really long time. And I know that those staff members in those facilities, in all of the facilities, are really taking care of people like they are their own family. They are loving on them. And their hearts ache when residents get sick. So it's not that anyone is receiving, bad care or something like that. It's this virus really sucks, to be quite blunt. But if you do have a loved one in a facility and you're having some difficulties getting a hold of them and you do want to check on them, that is what the Long-Term Care Ombudsman's office is for. They're located in the Alliance for Better Long-Term Care. And here in Rhode Island, you can give them a call at 401-785-3340, and they will help you get connected with your loved one. If you happen to be watching from another state, I can tell you all 50 states, Puerto Rico and Guam, do have a long-term care ombudsman. Okay, how many of you are now wondering what the heck a long-term care ombudsman is?
Yeah.
Yeah. That That is a common question, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'll answer before anybody asks. The long-term care ombudsman is an advocate for folks who live in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. They're there to help your loved one resolve any questions or concerns they may have regarding anything about their care in the facility.
I remember hearing that phrase years ago with my
Yeah,
mom. We have
yeah.
a
So
question, or we have a comment.
oh yeah, go ahead.
This is from Steve Mason. We just bought my mother-in-law a grand pad to keep in contact with the family. There's a lot of tech issues, mostly due to her living environment, mostly metal and concrete.
Yeah.
So
Can you get
that's
her a hotspot maybe? Is she able to hardwire into the facility?
possibly
Some,
they might have their own firewall,
yeah,
being HIPAA compliant, but maybe she could get something.
right. And a lot of the facilities do have Wi-Fi. You know, you have to ask for the facility Wi-Fi password. So that would be
Hmm.
my first question. I don't know how much staffing would be available to dedicate time to getting it connected right now, but that's not to say like once this crisis has sort of died down that wouldn't change.
Hmm.
Um, I think for anybody navigating tech issues when you're not a tech person, it's a challenge
Yeah.
to
So
try to do things online.
Steve just said Wi-Fi is where he may go, um, and then he just said no Wi-Fi in the building. So
Wow.
that's tough.
Yeah. So see if maybe you can get her a hotspot. I mean, depending on what kind of building that she's in, is she by a window where she could set the hotspot up near a window,
Hmm.
do something like that. A lot of the cell phone carriers are offering hotspots pretty cheap.
Hmm.
So that
Noreen
would help.
Rosa says great info.
Good. I'm glad you like it. Any questions?
Yeah, Noreen's Noreen's gone through a lot with family and recently. So
Yeah.
man, there's so many questions, but there's
So
let me
here's a
see,
big one that
Horizon.
comes up, and this happens all the time, and
Yeah,
everybody needs to know this because if I had a nickel for every time I said this, I could have a house on Ocean Road.
there you go.
Medicare Medicare does not cover long-term care.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think, oh, my loved one fell, they broke their hip, and they'll just stay in the nursing home now, and Medicare will cover it. No, Medicare is your health insurance. Just like you cannot use your Blue Cross card to cover the cost of your mortgage or
Hmm.
to pay for your groceries at the market, Medicare does not cover long-term care. Medicare will cover short-term rehab care.
And
And
then it
so as
cuts
long
off.
as you, and then it
Yep.
ends, yes. And it will cover when you are making progress up to 120 days. But making progress is also the key. So one of the things, so it kind of works out. Mom falls, she breaks her hip, she gets the hip replaced, she goes into a skilled rehab facility, and what happens that first night? You haven't slept because after you fell, they took you to the hospital, and Lord knows they don't let you sleep in the hospital. So
Hmm.
then, you have the surgery, you get out of surgery, you're in a lot of pain, then they transfer you to a rehab unit. You haven't slept in days.
Hmm.
Things hurt. And then, God love the physical therapists, occupational therapists, because they come in like, come on, we got to get going.
Yeah,
Hurry,
yeah, yeah.
we got to walk.
They're the most
And mom's,
optimistic people.
oh my God, I love them. Love them. They're cheerleaders. Like, they're just built-in cheerleaders.
Yeah,
But what's mom saying? Mom's like, I'm not getting up. It hurts.
yeah.
Everything hurts.
Well, you know
No.
what I found was funny when my mom and dad were in a nursing home, and I showed up. One of the first days I showed up where they happened to have the rehab class.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, this is great. Like, yeah, mom, why don't you stay for the rehab? I'm like, absolutely, I'll come for the rehab class. So the nurse said that. So brought them down. She goes, well, we'll set them up. We'll be ready in about 10 minutes. So 10 minutes later, I leave their room. I go to the room. And I mean, it's all they could do. I mean, they're elderly. I get it. All elderly. But they were like lifting their hands. Like, okay, lift your hands up. And they were doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, is that my life when I get at that age? That's going to be my exercise, just lifting my hands. And then they were moving their knees together. They're like
Yeah.
touching the knees and pulling. But it's something. But
It is
wow,
something. And what you don't realize is when you start getting arthritis in your shoulders, that to do that, and I think I'm frozen on the screen, but to do that,
you're not
it
here.
hurts. Oh, okay. You really are stretching out your shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and when you think about when you're pushing your knees together, that isometric is actually helping to build the muscles. It's actually one of those things that's also good for your lower back. So if you spend a lot of time sitting, it's really good for that too. Not that I'm a medical professional. I'm not offering medical advice. I don't do
Right, got to
that.
state that in there. The lawyers are going to be on you. So
Yes.
Diane Greenwood in California, she writes in. Sounds like a
Going
radio
back to
show.
Cali.
She writes in.
Cali.
First time caller. First time. What is it? First time.
Yeah. First time
Multi-time
caller.
listener. First time caller. Deb, what inspired you to focus on elder care? Good question.
Ooh, I have always loved seniors. So if you hop in the Wayback Machine with me, I was a CNA before you even had to be certified as a nursing assistant. I worked in a nursing home that no longer exists. I was 16 when I started, and I'll never forget the very first day. It was a 7 to 3 shift on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And pulling out tests of sorts that would happen at this particular facility to see if they could kind of spook the new kid. And
Yep.
they sent me in to see this woman named Ida. Ida happened to be blind. And they asked me to feed her. I'd never fed an adult in my life. Now, this was a long time ago, so the regulations have all changed. Ida would smile very nicely. She happened to be blind. She would grab hold of your hand just like she was just the sweetest, kindest lady. And then she'd take her nails and dig in and scratch until you bled.
Oh,
And I was like, wow, alrighty then.
yeah.
I'm in it. So, I got past Ida, and then I found that the seniors really had beautiful history, beautiful stories, and I got the
Yeah.
opportunity to talk to individuals and not see them as, the patient in 316B. It was, Donata, who used to work in the mills in Providence. And she told me the firsthand story of what it was like when the Andrea Dory sank and her friends were on it.
Jeez.
She'd tell me, what does it mean to have 12 children and lose your husband and have to go work in the mills 6 days a week from, crack of dawn to late at night. And I loved hearing that. They're people. And I've just been drawn to that, to have that conversation. So I don't necessarily say that I see seniors, although, obviously I do, but it's having that conversation with real people. I had a great conversation, and it comes to mind now of a woman who lived down in Warwick Neck. And she lived alone. She never had children. And, she was telling me she was 98, and this was back in the early 90s. And I asked, you were never had kids, it wasn't meant to be. She said, I was a school teacher. She said, so I had lots of kids. I just didn't give birth to them. She said, my husband and I got married in, I think it was 1917. And they went to Crater Lake on their honeymoon, which was huge, to actually go away someplace for their honeymoon.
Wow.
She said when they came back from their trip, he got the Spanish flu. And she lost him. And I was like, holy cow. And she said, he was the love of my life. And so I never remarried. She said, I had the children at the school. They were my kids.
Oh,
and
my
she
gosh.
said, I grew up in this house here in Warwick Neck. She said, this used to be farmland. And she said, my job was to take stuff into town. So my father would load up the wagon, send me into town. And she's like, thank God the horse knew where the stable was for the food, because the horse brought me back.
Yeah.
These are real people to me. It's not some homogenous group.
Yeah, if you love
I
people
think,
in history, then social work is great.
Yeah.
Diane's actually a nurse.
Yeah.
And what hospital are you in, Diane? Or she's in California. She's an old friend. Loves people,
Yep.
You got to love people, right? In that field, you can't
Exactly.
fake it. You
Yes.
won't last long.
Yeah. And my background is in gerontology. So I have a master's degree in gerontology, which is the biological, psychological, and social aspects of aging, which roughly translates to I nerd out about all things aging. So when they're talking about in Washington what's happening with Social Security and Medicare and the Older Americans Act, I'm paying attention because that's the kind of thing that lights up my brain. Not that I always understand what's happening in Washington, but I think that's true for most people. I'm paying attention at the state level. I'm paying attention in my community. And I think that it's that natural curiosity that makes my brain excited, that really helped me gather the information for RIElderInfo.com. There's a ton of information there. And that's not even everything that lives in my head. That's just the stuff that's easiest to communicate.
Yeah. So Diane said she's in Scripps Memorial, La Jolla, California.
Yeah. How's that going? Whew.
Yeah, I don't know. She could. That'd be great, Diane. We got to have you on the show. I'm curious what you're seeing out there. Yeah, crazy. So a couple more questions.
Sure.
How about those caring for dementia, like me for 6 years?
So that can be a lot. And I think people don't often give themselves enough credit for it. We might have unrealistic expectations. Dementia is a brutal disease. And one of the things that a lot of times people don't realize, most people think Alzheimer's. Not all dementia is Alzheimer's. Right. And the way I try to explain it to people is, say, for example, dementia is a symptom of something going on in your brain. And it's like saying you have a runny nose. Okay, you have a runny nose. Is that because you have allergies? Is it because you have a sinus infection? Is it because, I don't know, you were just dealing with pepper? All you know is you have a runny nose. So the same is true with dementia. And we have seen where people have erroneously thought or incorrectly thought that their loved one was playing, where it's like, no, Mom, you know my name. Come on, what's my name? And it puts the person with dementia on the spot because at that point right then and there, they don't remember. So, I think right now we're more in a pressure cooker kind of situation where, we're isolated at home. We're not supposed to be going out for anything. It can make it harder for caregivers of all kinds, not just those caring for individuals with dementia, but, if you're caring for little kids, things like that, it can be a lot. And it's okay to tap the easy button and say, I need help. Home care agencies are still out there performing services. They do have to check their staff on a regular basis. There are some great facilities out there that do have beds open. If, going into long-term care is something that is needed, it's okay to say, I can't do this. I need help. Because it's work. And so, people really need to give themselves credit for that.
Right.
The other cruel thing about dementia is can be, depending on the kind of dementia. If you sat and watched the highway and you see a ton of cars go by, and then all of a sudden there's a red Corvette that goes by, and it's only there for a minute, and then it's out of sight. What can happen with people with dementia is their reality is not quite the same as what we're experiencing. And unfortunately, that's part of the disease process with dementia. But for that quick minute, sometimes all those neurons, all those synapses connect. And all of a sudden, that mom looks at you and knows exactly who you are, when a few minutes before they didn't. And it's like that red Corvette going by. And you can keep looking for that red Corvette, but it went by. And now you just hope to see it the next time it comes by. And it's not that your loved one isn't playing. One of the hallmarks of dementia is people don't know that they're forgetting. And that can be really hard.
Yeah, my mom was like, oh, I just can't remember the word I'm trying to tell you. And I would make light of it and just say, don't worry, I forget all the time. Hey, we're all getting old. I would play it down like we're getting old.
Yeah.
but I never used the D word in front of her. But
Yeah.
she knew she
And,
was forgetting, and it is
and it,
sad. This sounds very graphic, but it's a slow wake. The
it,
little
it
pieces
can
of them are leaving, and it was a slow wake.
it
Oh.
can feel that way, but it's also important to remember that that person is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And dementia and forgetting things is not a normal part of aging.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
it is not a normal part of aging at all. And it also doesn't mean that the person can't still have fun and enjoy
Oh yeah.
things in life. Um, it's just different. And if somebody is experiencing, sometimes you'll see folks, where they want to go home, they want to go home, they want to go home. And I think what people don't realize is home is not necessarily a geographical place in that
Mm-hmm.
situation.
Right.
Home is that sense of comfort,
Yep. It
of
could be when they were 10
belonging, of
years old.
safety. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, when did you feel safe? And instead of saying, Dad, you are home. You've lived here for 50 years. What are you talking about? You don't want to go, you want to go home. You
Yeah.
are home. Try to redirect. Try to be where that person is. When that person is saying, I'm looking for my mom, don't say, well, looking for your mom, Nana's been dead for 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's like telling somebody the very first time,
Right. Right.
and it's going to break their heart. Instead, say, oh, yeah, mom went to the market and she'll be back. But in the meantime, why don't you come over here and do XYZ? Let's have a snack
Yeah.
or
Redirect. Redirect.
completely. And
Hey, we have
it
no.
works much better.
It does work. Yeah. We have a question from Richard
Fire
Austin.
away.
Rick Austin. What do you think of the legislation pending in Rhode Island regarding increasing the required staffing in nursing homes and et cetera?
I think it might be a step in the right direction, but just because you legislate it doesn't mean it can happen. So we don't have nationwide, there is no minimum staffing requirement. There's no specific regulation as to what that is defined by.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a member of the Gerontological Society of America, and it is one of the things that we are advocating for at the national level. But just because you legislate it doesn't mean that people will magically appear. And having people who want to go into, say, the position of a certified nursing assistant, where there are a lot of people who don't respect them. And that's completely wrong, because these are the people who spend probably the most time with your loved one,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not respected, they're not well paid. So if you could work at Walmart and make the same amount of money and not have to deal with, say, bodily fluids, then more people are more likely to go into working at Walmart. So if there's a legislative action, and I like the idea of it, but it doesn't create bodies for the job.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, the legislation would be great, but it's not going to change the fact that we need to elevate the position, A, to a living wage, and to also make it something that is respected. We're hearing, and rightfully so, and I get it, we're hearing a lot about the nurses and the doctors. But what about the CNAs who are in there with your loved one helping them get it washed up?
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard job. When it's not always the nurses who are at your bedside when you're taking your last breath.
Mm-hmm.
It is the CNAs. It's the CNAs who are taking care of you after that last breath.
Right.
And there is dignity and honor in that job that I think a lot of times people don't. They take that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the legislation is a great idea, but there's other steps that need to be able to come forward as well in order to make it effective.
So, last question before we leave. What can viewers do to support the work Rhode Island Elder Info does?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. All right, Elder Info is a 501c3 nonprofit. So as we are doing all of our shopping from home,
Mm-hmm.
you can go on Amazon Smile and choose RI Elder Info. You can go on RIElderInfo.com. You can mail a check out to our P.O. box. We are always happy if you can do fundraisers for us. what we raise goes back into what we're doing. We have right now a major event coming up called Calling All Veterans Day. It is not a fundraising event. It is an information and resource fair for veterans of all eras to get the information they need to age independently. It had been originally scheduled for May 9th, but other things came up. So right now it will be taking place August 1st at the URI Ryan Center.
Yep.
Doors to the public at 8:30. It will run until 1 o'clock. So we need fundraising for that. We've had to kind of change a little bit where we were expecting to have about 100 vendors for that event. But it's reasonable expectation that we're still going to have to social distance by August. So we do need to cut that down a little bit, which does impact how the costs to getting the Ryan Center for a major event and all the different pieces that go into that are impacted. So yeah, we're always in need of donations of any kind.
There you go.
Just share the word. Sign up for our newsletters. Share the word that we're out there. And I say share the word, not really so much for RI Elder info, although obviously that's good for us, but because I can guarantee at least 5 people right now who need the information on RI Elder info, whether or not they told you that they need it, whether or not they realize they need it right this second. People who need the information on RI Elder info. And if you don't share it, then they won't know that it exists out there.
Right. It is it's a catch-all of all information. It's crazy what's on there.
Yeah.
And you've got it broken down by towns and cities. So you just click on your town and it opens it right up and just tells you exactly what's available. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
I perused through. You have a lot of... It's a mind dump. You just dumped everything that you know, and you keep updating it. So that's great.
I do,
Deb, thanks for coming on.
That is one of the good things for the downtime now is it gives me a chance to even add more stuff.
Yeah, really. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, thanks for coming on Wine with Dave.
Yes, thank you for having me. Cheers, everyone. I hope you have a great night.
Cheers. Let's do a little clink. Can we do a clink of a glass?
Let's see if we can do that. Let's see. Am I going this way?
Well, you're on Skype. We're actually on Facebook. So you gotta move the glass to the center, and then chink. Kind of works anyway.
Yeah.
You guys get it.
I'll just make a circle. Peace be with you all.
Steve Mason says, "Great message. Thanks so much." Rich Austin, 100% agree 100%. So thank you so much for coming on, Deb. It's been real in honor of antiques. You have a heart for the antiques, the walking antiques.
Absolutely.
Our parents.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah. We're all going to be antiques someday.
Amen.
Right, Rich?
From your mouth to God's ear.
Right, Steve Mason? We're all going to be antiques someday. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. You have a good night.
All right. You too.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Well, that was good. That was, let me shut this down. I don't know how to shut this down. That was great. Deb's I call her the walking encyclopedia. A walking encyclopedia. Noreen says she enjoyed the talk. That's good. Good. Yeah, Noreen, I know you probably have questions. I mean, many people do. Go to rielderinfo.com and you can contact Deb.
You can always reach me at Deb at rielderinfo.
Is on there. You could find her that way too. So it was great having her on the show. So, antiques. What's your antique? What's your antique?
I don't know. I live in the house in the 1890s.
Did anybody do a watch party? Did anybody do a watch party? That'd be really awesome to know that someone did. Let me see what I got here. Lots of people.
Yay!
Thanks, Dave, for your interest in pushing this out. Yeah. Yeah, it's a serious... I try to keep the show light, with what we're all going through, but then dealing with elder care is not always light, but I just felt like Deb is so knowledgeable, and let's just get that out there. But in that event, she was really putting her heart and soul into the Calling All Veterans, and so that had to be canceled, but maybe not. Maybe we'll see.
No, postponed, not canceled. Postponed.
Yeah, not canceled, postponed. She's still on the other theme. She's on another scene that you guys don't see. She's talking to me. She's in my ear. She's my conscience. but it's postponed. So great, guys. Thanks for coming. Let me see. What is she saying? Pushing. Noreen Kerrigan Rosa. She might hear from me. So if you're out there, Deb, Noreen is my cousin. And
Noreen Kerrigan. That name sounds familiar.
Dave, glad to see you got your exercise tonight. Yeah. So we were talking about how elderly people exercise, and Rich, leave it to Rich. Rich isn't normally funny, but sometimes he is. And he says, me just lifting the glass is just, giving me a little exercise.
Oh,
so I do that.
fun.
And then my wife gave me this.
Ooh.
This is a chocolate. What is this, honey? A Snickers. It's a Snickers Crisper. Look at that. Tonight's show is brought to you by Snickers Crisper. When you really need the chocolate, and you got to get the chocolate. So Noreen just says, Deb, you look familiar. I think I have met you. So good. We're trying to get some guests on. So if you have an interesting story, if you're a business person, because I originally wanted to promote businesses, but if you don't own a business, that's okay. Start one. Now's the time to start one. You have plenty of time to do research. No, kidding aside, if you're dealing with this pandemic in a very interesting way, maybe you're laid off. I'd like to hear from people who are laid off, what they're going through. And teenagers, elderly, I don't care who you are. Just if you have a Skype account, and if you don't, just get one. Just go to Skype.com, sign up, send me your name, your handle, as the kids say. It's your handle. It's my Skype handle, Dad. And send me 5 questions that you have a great answer for, and I will ask those questions. I want to promote businesses, local businesses, and whatnot. So thank you for everyone coming. Let's see. What do we got? Deb, you look familiar. What's this one from Steve Mason? Yes, he is. He's just very dry with a penchant for puns. Rich Austin, the pun penchant. The penchant for puns. Yeah, he is. Rich is actually a really funny guy. I like Rich. I know, nobody likes him, but I like him. I like you, Rich. A lot of people told me they don't like you. I actually like you. I'm one of the few. No, people like him. People like Rich. He's a good guy. And people like Steve Mason, too. You got to like Steve. Steve speaks his mind. And that guy's got a mind. Steve, we got to hang out when all this is over. We got to grab a little glass of something, of bubbly, and just chat for not an hour. We need 4 hours somewhere in a cabin out in Maine. You're a fascinating guy. I just, we gotta just hang out. So, it's 9:57. Wow, the time flies. The time flies. Oh my gosh, 9 flies. So yeah, the Harmony Sovereign. Today is National Antique Day. I don't know what you want me to play. How does it look like that? I look like I'm on one of those VH1,
Unplugged.
Anyhow, so what else do we have? Know any John Prine? I don't know any John Prine. I don't. Steve Mason writes in, do you know any John Prine? I wish I did.
Hey, Dave, where's Noreen from?
Sam, yeah, I don't know the name. I don't know any John. I never learned any John Prine. So, Noreen, I know I have spoken with you somewhere. She says that she's still having a conversation with Deb. Deb's not even on the show now. She's completely off the show. So, anyhow, we got to go. It's 1 minute away. I want to get you guys to bed. Steve says you suck. Oh, I know that one. Yeah, You Suck by John Prine. Ready? Steve Mason, you suck. suck the life out of me. I just wrote that. Yeah, that's not a John Prine song. That's a Dave England song called Steve Mason, You Suck the Life Out of Me. Steve, we really got to go to a cabin sometime and just hang and chill. All right, guys, I got to get you kiddies to bed, but I promised you a closing quote. And I don't know where I got that. I know where I got the closing quote idea from. Some of you know. Closing quote. You ready? This is by George R.R. Martin. Now, who would have two initials? Who does that? Who does that? Someone that, I don't know, wants to be an author someday. So he did. He wrote what, Game of Thrones, which I've seen one episode. I don't even know what it's about. I heard it's screamingly funny. It's hilarious. So here's the closing quote from George R.R. Martin. Laughter is poison to fear. Laughter is poison to fear. And with that, hug everyone you love. Just think about your antiques. Think about your parents. Think about people. Thank you, Deb, for being on the show. Screen's going to go black in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Maybe Funky White Sister.